Your camera is on. Okay, perfect. All right. So just to introduce you to Dr. Thomas. Dr. Thomas, rather than me introducing you, you
I
could.
think you go ahead. You go ahead. No problem. There is nothing like that.
All right. So Dr. Thomas is, as you can see, is an alumni of IIT Madras. And over the last 35 years, he has been into higher education in the field of engineering technology management. He is the ex director of at Adani Institute of Infrastructure Management, and is now with us as the program director at Technostruct. And along with Dr. Thomas, we have Parth Makwana. He is the technical director of technical services at Technostruct, based out of our California office. He's after doing his master's in civil engineering from Denmark. He's done his construction management from Purdue University, and yeah, and he is right now also going to be part of it. And so am I. And I have about 22 years of experience in this industry as, and yeah, so some young blood, some old blood, and some in between. So today what we're going to talk about, as it mentions here, is the future of construction management in India, how it is an evolving space, and more so now post-COVID with the advancement in technology, and how does it impact us in terms of our career opportunities. So this is the agenda of what we're going to try and talk about. May not be in this order, but these are the salient points of our discussion today. So let's start. So Dr. Thomas, just if you can throw some light on what the Indian construction industry is right now and what are the growth prospects that you envisage.
You see, before I get into construction management, let us have a brief discussion on the current status of Indian construction industries. The Indian current market is at a size of around 600 billion US dollar, okay, with a revenue of about 11% of GDP contribution, I can say. And this industry is the second largest employer in the country, where agriculture being the first one with 175 million people employed, and the construction industry is almost with 35 million people directly employed into this sector. If you look into the growth prospect, this 600 billion construction industry is continuously growing at a rate of around 6% annually, and within a decade, or maybe within 5-6 years, this industry is going to touch 1 trillion US dollar business. Okay, and as I told you, the current the GDP contribution of this industry is 11%, with 6% growth rate. By 2030, it is going to touch around 13% GDP contribution. Mm-hmm. And if you take different components of Indian construction sector, the major two components are basically real estate, and another big one is the infrastructure sector. Mm-hmm. And since it is growing at a very high rate, within 10 years, Indian construction industry is going to be the third largest construction industry in the world after America and China. That is the current status of Indian construction industry in a nutshell.
Okay. So from difference between us in India, what we are seeing in terms of, and I'm just proceeding on to the next slide, but what it means to be the third largest in terms of market size would mean the difference between China and in US and India is, if I were to put it in a nutshell, is technology, which
Yeah.
we have avoided due to the surplus of manpower. So, but that reached a plateau, and now we have to build in more and more technology to see the growth in numbers.
Rohit,
So,
I just want to put one more point. Along with technology, professional construction management is also one area of lacking in our industry where
mm,
standardization and other things are not done in a. Of course, technology is an enabler.
mhm.
Primarily, the modern project management concept are to be introduced. That is where we are lacking in a big way. Okay, but
and
technology will definitely going to be the direct enabler for that.
and if we, maybe I'm stealing from the last slide here, but if that be the case, and then what we have to also understand, and this is very relevant for all the people who are, job seekers or career growth seekers, is that when Dr. Thomas is saying that we need more and more people in for better construction management knowledge, what is what he's actually trying to also say, and what the industry is saying, is that we lack a lot of homegrown talent. So there's a gap between what is the academia and what is actually being practiced, because the leap that technology has taken. And that is why we see this industry getting dominated by foreign players, Turner, this, that. So, and where we are second rate players, where but that talent gap that we have cannot be covered by the external companies coming in, has to be filled internally with our huge number of engineers and architects that are present in India. So that brings us to what the government might be doing to promote that. So over to you, Dr. Thomas.
Okay, I'll just give you, these are the few points I have listed here are the current initiatives. Actually, the government started supporting the construction and infrastructure industry in a big way right from the post-globalization period. They started the concept of privatization in the form of BOT and all. BOT has evolved in a different way. Initially, they thought that lot of investment will be coming from the private sector, and they introduced the concept of BOT, where they will be providing minimum support to the private sector. They thought that with that minimum support, private industry may be able to invest a lot of money. They started with that simple concept of BOT. Then later on, they found that there are no much takers for these BOT projects for infrastructure and real estate projects. So they came out with modified models like boot concept, then annuity concept, then hybrid annuity concept, then viability grant concept. Many things they have tried, but because of the complexity of infrastructure projects and the huge investment and risk involved in the projects, the concept of privatization did not uh, reach up to the expected mark of the expected or expectation of the government. So they keep on changing their target. Now in 2019 20, they came out with another infrastructure plan, which is known as National Infrastructure Pipeline, having a budget of 1.5 trillion US dollar project. Okay, if you look at the the the, the structure of the project, you will find that 40% investment is coming from government, state, central government. 40% is coming from the state government, and they are restricting the investment from the private sector to the 20% only. So initially they were thinking of 100% investment. Then they thought that that won't work. 50% investment from the private sector. Now they have come down to a stage where the expected investment from the private sector is only 20%. 80% of the remaining investment is going to come from the government. So that gives more certainty also, because when government is putting money into the system, they will put lot of regulatory reforms and legal reforms and all those things, and they will create a helping environment for the industry to work. Okay. So with the 20%, the contribution of this 1.5 trillion US dollar is going to be somewhere like 24% energy, 19% road and railway, 16% urban infrastructure, and 13% railways, and rest of the things for the 20%. Now, for all construction projects and especially infrastructure projects, resource is the biggest constraint for an Indian context. Okay, let it be government or a private sector. Finding money is a very, very difficult task. So government is now coming up with another concept or another project, national monetization pipeline. Okay, where they are going to bring around 6 lakh crore Indian rupees to the system through monetization of the asset which they already have. Maybe like the railway land, their existing airports, existing ports, and all those existing infrastructure are going to be leased to private sectors and then create. It's going to be a long-term lease. It is not direct selling of and all, since it is an infrastructure project where public utility is involved. So this is another project where 6 lakhs crore, around 100 billion US dollar monetization program is coming up, which will boost the construction industry in a big way. Another project, big project, which is again 100 crore, 120 billion US dollar project is Sagarmala project, where they are going to develop 16 ports right from the Gujarat coast coming down to Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and going up to West Bengal. 16 ports, out of which around 8 ports are major ports, 100 billion US dollar. It's not just port development, it's a coastal development concept. Okay, port is one concept. Another thing is port related industrialization is another concept, which means basically the free trade zone kind of thing, where you will import raw material and then things will be produced in the confined trade zone, and then it will be imported back to other. So it consists of basically seaport constructions or modernization of all seaports, then port industrialization, then port rail interconnectivity, and then overall coastal social development, etc. So this all put together is known as Sagarmala project, introduced in 2016, and almost 40% of the projects are already going on, and that will also be a big boost for the construction industry in India. Another big project coming up is smart cities. Already started smart city mission, where they are targeting 100 medium to modern cities, and each one will be invested with 1,000 crore rupees, and the total cost is around 1,81,000 crore. Basically, technology driven modernization of the cities to smart cities. And the last one which I have pointed out, these are all current government initiatives towards the boosting of construction side. You see, these are all infrastructure projects. You know that infrastructure means the main arm is construction sector. Okay, multimodal connectivity project, which consists of 1.2 trillion US dollar project. Okay, it's basically for interconnectivity of airports, ports, rail, road, and even the IT. Right, you all put together is known as multimodal connectivity. This is basically the major government initiatives coming up, which can directly influence the construction sector in a big way. Yes, Roy.
So what does this mean? So again, I'm going to the ceiling from the last slide. And also taking something that you said, which is very, very important. When we talk about infrastructure, okay, a lot of people in here would say, maybe I am not in infrastructure. Yes, I want to do construction management, but I am not into infrastructure. But know that if, say, 100 cities, forget Star Smart, Sagarmala project, okay, 16 ports. So when you have a port, you have so many, even in that port, there are so many administration buildings and other buildings surrounded in that construction project. And once that port is built, 5 villages turn into towns and 5 towns turn into cities because of the projects that happen in and around that. Okay, there will be hospitals, hotels, those two are for sure. And whenever there is, and there will be housing. And whenever there is housing, there is going to be shopping. So now that chain follows, and you've got a modernization happening, which means more projects. Okay. So when, and we are all talking about the so-called recession and all that. But know this, the beauty of being in the construction industry is when recession hits, the construction industry goes into a boom. I'm not talking about real estate. Non-real estate construction industry goes for a boom because the smartest way for any government to increase jobs is infrastructure projects, construction projects. Okay. So even if the government is now spending 80% and private sector is spending 20%, the tangential construction or development will be nearly 100% private. So we in the construction industry, our career opportunities become immense during recession, just before and after. Okay, and during definitely. So that's a good sign. So whenever we say infrastructure, we don't mean only infrastructure. We mean all the tangential construction happening beyond that particular infrastructure project.
Okay, Roy, beyond that, when this construction project takes up, hundreds of consultants will be drawn into the picture. Okay, right from site investigation to surveying to architectural planning, then structural design, environmental impact assessment, socio-economic analysis, feasibility analysis, construction management. So it's a great scope. Fringe benefits are many. It's not confined to construction management alone, but the peripheral things are also coming up in a big way.
Yeah. Now with EV and solar, and so all engineering, so it's a beauty. I mean, nobody really thinks about it, but infrastructure is not just the infrastructure project. It means so much more. So, and again, and this is something that if you know someone in NITI Aayog, and which is the Indian Planning Commission, or used to be, they have learned a hard lesson during the COVID period, because a lot of their projects were dependent when it came to technology, were dependent on external agencies. And that talent could not be brought to India for 2 years. And then the dearth, then it started pinching that our people do not have the skill set to do it unless they have gone and studied abroad and come back, studied and worked abroad. So that skill deficit, the high level skill deficit had pinched India very hard. And that's why it's like throwing big money and big push into the skill development. And I'm not talking about the lower level skill development. I'm talking about the high level skill development to cope up with the futuristic infrastructure growth that is being seen. But then we come to the challenges.
Yes. If you look into construction projects, if you analyze the statistics of Indian construction project over the last 25 years, you will find that invariably 20 to 25% of Indian construction projects are getting either delayed or reaching with a cost overrun concept of about 20 to 25%. This, no country can afford to have this kind of situation where 25% of the projects are having cost overrun and time overrun. When I try to analyze what are the major challenges for Indian construction industry, I found that basically the legacy issues are the main things. Okay, I identified 5 or 6 major points which Indian construction industry is lagging. with the legacy issues. One is skill labor. I have put it as labor shortage. As Roy said, it is labor in terms both labor as well as the higher level resources. Okay, skill shortage of skilled labor resources is one of the biggest constraint. Then another issue is low productivity and margin. Margin issue, if you take any construction industry in India, major EPC construction industry, if you look at the margin, it is hardly 5 to 6%. For example, L&T, 5 to 6% is the margin. They are surviving just because of the quantum of the work which they are getting. But 5 to 6% margin is not a very prospective margin for an industry. If you go to IT industry, annually 20-25% margin they are getting. Construction industry margin is very low because of the productivity problems and the time overrun and cost overrun. Okay. Another issue is standardization issue. You see, we have very big difficulty in managing the contract because of the lack of standardization. Every state government is having its own standard contract system. Then CPWD is having a different contract system. Then if the fund project is from NHA, they have a FIDIC system. Or if the money is coming from some another country and they are insisting for some standard, you have to implement that. So standardization is a big issue. It is slowly getting improved. Now most of the central funded projects are within the framework of FIDIC contract, international FIDIC contract. You will get funding only when you are operating the contract in the FIDIC system. And as Roy said at the beginning, very slow pace of adoption of the technology. Okay, Indian construction industry is not that fast in adopting the technology. Very not only technology in terms of mechanization and digitization, both way, the pace of implementation is very slow. So these are 4 or 5 big challenges Indian construction industry is facing, and they are continuously working on to improve upon that thing. What I have written is, if you want to overcome these challenges, there are 2 things you have to concentrate. One is implement the modern project management concept in the construction sector, and then bring a technology-based digital framework for managing that system. You see, you can bring good project management concept and implement it in the construction industry. But unless it is operated on a digital platform, the coordination will be very, very difficult. Okay, if you want to coordinate a good project management process, you need a robust platform which will be interoperable. Okay, so these are the 2 things: technology and digitization, and then good project management. These are the 2 things which we have to very firmly look into. Yes, Roy.
I think, this procurement and project management. Now, here is one thing. A tiny example of procurement. Now, in 2014, there was a firm called IREO. There was a developer in Gurgaon, Delhi NCR, an American funded company. And they said, I don't want to cut and bend steel. Okay. I don't want to cut and bend steel because we have figured that is 7 to 8% wastage and pilferage put together. So I want to save that cost. So Tekla CIP was very new, and I was involved in that project. Multiple, they were one of the biggest landholders there. They went into some controversy later, and so we did an entire model and whatever, and so the entire steel was cut, bent, off-site in factory, and it was through Jindals. and they were tagged and they were brought to site. Okay. And so that everything, so there is no wastage, there is no cutting on site at all. Yes, the cost was 2% or 2.5% higher, but they still ended up saving at least 5%. And I'm talking about 2014, not 2020, not 2022. So what I'm trying to get at is now a lot of people are doing it in India as well, especially in Mumbai, where there's a space constraint. Um, so, but what happened was an American funded company knew from the start that this is what's going to happen, and we're going to do we're going to change the style of procurement. And so, just a small example of how you can save it. Now, there's an initial capex for that, but fair enough. So, so small tweaking of our, as you said, the chat that we think as this is a norm. If we look beyond it and adopt certain technologies and certain methods, those stop being the norm. And that's what we have to move past in here. And I think, sir, we are moving past in India, maybe at our own pace, but I think we are.
One more point, Roy. Go back to the slide.
Sure.
Earlier one. You see, Roy talked about the procurement of the material and resources and its significance on the project cost elaborate way. But I have another dimension of the procurement to add. That is about the construction procurement. When I say construction procurement, is how do you going to procure a project? Okay, there are various procurement format for construction project. Whether you go for an item rate contract, or you go for a turnkey project, or you just give an EPC contract, or you give a BOT contract or boot contract, or I was more talking about the procurement model, because that procurement model create lot of difference in the project management concept. The entire scenario get changed when the procurement model is getting changed. Okay,
Right.
so that is also very important. Now more emphasis is given definitely that that the conventional procurement of material, man, labor, equipment parties is getting automated and getting optimized in a big way. But this part is also going in a big way, finding out an optimal project procurement model. Okay, that is what I thought of giving another view of the thing. Okay,
Perfect.
thank you. Roy, you want to comment on that thing, procurement model?
I will just say one thing. I will not name the firm, but they are probably the largest construction firm in India. And I asked them, why are you suddenly investing so much of money and manpower in technology? He said, we don't make money on projects. We stopped making money on projects 5-10 years back. We only make money on change orders. So we want to make sure that our change orders are processed very fast and no challenges.
Claim settlement. Yeah. Okay. Scope of now I will get into construction management a little bit, because you cannot talk about implementation of a technology without knowing the fundamentals of construction project management. Like any management student will know that what is exactly management. Project management is managing three components of the system, either people or workforce management, production or product management, and the process management. For construction project also, these three things are equally important, but they have tailor-made that process fitting to the construction management scenario or construction management environment. That is the only difference. Otherwise, human resource management or the scheduling and controlling of the production process, and also the framework within which the information flows, everything is same for all kind of projects. Okay, but that is the thing. Like, as I said, any other project, the objective of any project is basically, people keep saying that time, cost, and quality. I will add one more dimension in the present day context: safety. Okay, so these are the four prime objective. Everything you do is revolving around these four objective functions: time, cost, quality, and safety. You cannot compromise on any of these things. Okay, and they are all interconnected in a or intercorrelated in a big way. And conventionally in colleges, we used to teach construction management. Okay, or during my last 35 years of teaching project construction management, we were concentrating on developing skill for scheduling and monitoring the project. Okay, that was the whole academic framework of construction management. Because those days contractors are getting the project, and construction management was meant for simple contractors or to the extent EPC contractors. Okay, now that concept is changed. The procurement model is having a different concept now. Huge amount of money is coming up, and private parties are also putting money into the system. So it is not that if you do good construction management, your project revenue stream will be perfect. No, the project will not be successful if you do just construction project management. So a different philosophy has come into picture, that is known as life cycle management of the project. Unless you take care of the project right from conceptual planning to asset management level, the construction projects are not going to be viable. Okay, so you have to think in a holistic way, and our project management concepts are to be remodified to meet with the life cycle concepts of the project. Okay, so our aim is optimization of the life cycle cost and revenue of a project. Okay, so I'll be talking in the context of that thing, not just scheduling and controlling a typical construction project. Now, that is not our aim. Okay, yes, Roy, want to say something?
No.
Parth want to say something on this? Parth has studied in US and he is having better exposure in the modern construction management. If Parth is there, he can contribute something on the conventional construction management and the life cycle management. If Parth would like to throw some light.
I think Parth is having a little bit of a connectivity issue.
Okay. Then go ahead. I'll explain. Okay.
Yeah, but then at the same time, you are our US company, right? So there we are registered as a construction management firm, and in India, we have when we say construction management, a lot of the times it's still very fragmented, even within the construction management portfolio. There's a pre-construction, there's a construction, there's a handover and a
Asset management.
asset management. Now, what happens is, even if the goal is the maximization of OPEX, which is the operational expenditure of a project, even today, because the organizations who are building it, even say an L&T or a Shapoorji or anyone, even their teams do not talk to each other in terms of how the information flows. So, because the contracts, which you had brought up, I think in a much earlier slide, the contract framework is such that even if you lay the best construction management, handover document and bind it and say, I conquer.
But asset management will be a big issue.
Yes, because the person who is looking at the pre-construction management has no interest in the asset management. And hence, the guy, during construction, when it is being managed, they're only bothered about beating on the ducts and fitting the pipes, because at the end of the day, all they have to do is do some sketch work and put give it back as an as-built and then do whatever you want to do. But that is, let's take an airport or a hospital. easier. Uh, the OPEX of operational expenditure of running a hospital, sir, correct me if I'm wrong, is within 3 years exceeds the capital expenditure required to build that project.
You see, managing an hospital is much more difficult than constructing a hospital.
True. So what you need, why do you build that hospital? You build that hospital so that you can, in a nice way, so that you can manage it easily in a seamless factor. But the problem is we do not look at construction as a living entity. We look
I
at
have
it.
a beauty. I have a beautiful solution for your problem in the upcoming slides. I'll come to that later.
Okay, let's go there then.
Okay. Now, I was talking about the life cycle management. I will just briefly, many of the audience may be knowing all these things. I just, because unless I built upon this thing, I cannot talk on the further slides. So initially, the concept planning will be taking place. Basically, this is a client's responsibility. If the client doesn't have an internal capability for doing the conceptual planning, he may give it to a consultant or an expert for assistance. Otherwise, concept planning is to a great extent is carried out internally by the client or investor or promoter. Why I put investor or promoter in a procurement model of BOT or boot or annuity model, this investor and promoter also coming into picture. In a client concept means a single owner, maybe a government could be a client or a private industry house could be a client. Okay. So that's why I put client, investor and promoter. Then once that concept planning is approved by their board or an administrative approval is given based on the concept planning, then a feasibility, detailed feasibility and appraisal process is carried out. Okay. This is the responsibility of the client, but client definitely will not have the capability for doing a feasibility. When I say feasibility, it could be technical feasibility, it could be um, commercial feasibility, it could be financial feasibility, it could be environmental feasibility, it could be social feasibility. You need a stream of consultant experts to work on this feasibility analysis. And then once you are convinced or appraised with the feasibility of the project, then you will give the final approval. Okay, so that is the second level. Feasibility and appraisal process is a very long process. Lot of technical investigations are to be carried out. Lot of financial investigations are to be carried out, and business models are to be developed. All those things are to be done. Then you do all the analysis and then appraise on the project. Okay, basically done through consultants. Okay, the level 3 of the life cycle planning, life cycle of the project is planning and design. Okay, here two kind of people are involved in this stage. One is architects, and the second group of people are engineers. Engineers in the sense, if it is a civil engineering project, okay, mostly structural engineers, civil engineers, and environmental engineers, then piping engineers, plumbing engineers, all those people will be involved in the planning and design stage. And in-house capability may not be there for most of the organization. That will be carried out through planning and design consultants. Okay, level 4, after you do the detailed planning and design, you get into a stage which is known as procurement stage. Procurement stage means you are bringing a party to take up the project and complete the project. Okay, that involves tendering and contracting. Okay, a lot of work is involved in this process. For some of the projects, it may take 1 year, 2 year, 3 year time. You tender a project, sufficient number of respondents are not there to submit a responsible bid, then you may you may modify your tender model or the procurement model and then retender it. Lot of iterative process will be going on this procurement process. And again, client is responsible. You see, up to 4 stage, client is responsible. And since client is not having internal resources to do all these things, they may put project management consultants, okay, for doing all these things. Then fourth stage is planning, scheduling, execution, monitoring, and control. This was the conventional construction management which we used to teach in the engineering colleges. Okay, planning, scheduling, execution, monitoring, and control of that construction part. Okay, basically, this is the responsibility of both client as well as construction contractor or the EPC contractor, because client will do all these things to monitor the project, and contractor will do all these things to keep in pace with the target given by the client. Okay, so and to meet the project objective specified by the client in the tender document. So this is a very elaborate process. Okay, it's happening during the pre-construction stage and during the construction stage, and then once the project is over, then it is getting commissioned, okay, through some trial run and all, and the defect liability period will be on after commissioning, and then you get into operation phase. If you take a life cycle of a project of 30 years, the first 5 years may be planning, tendering, I mean conceptual planning, feasibility, and then engineering design, functional design, then construction, commissioning, all put together maybe for 5 years or 6 years, or maybe for 2 years or 3 years, depend upon the size of the project. Okay, but after that, the operation period will start, which may continue for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. They depend upon the type of project. Okay, so typically an infrastructure project will have a project time frame of 20 to 30 years, 35 years. Okay, so that's a very crucial phase, as Roy said, that OPEX management. It's all depend upon what you do at the beginning of the project life cycle phase. The first 5 years, if you don't do good work, your asset management and OPEX cost will go in a different way, and you will not get the projected revenue stream over a period of time. Okay, as you know, infrastructure project, the recruitment period is not very quick. Okay, even after starting the operation phase, to meet the break even, it will take 5, 6, 7 years. Okay, then only your profit phase will start. Okay, project, we call it as generally project payback period. Okay, so these are the scope within which the project management is taking place in the sector, and you have huge job opportunities for civil engineers, architects, plumbing engineers, mechanical engineers, construction engineers, environmental engineers. I will be talking about that thing, and what phase who will be coming into picture, we will discuss about that thing. But this is the entire spectrum of the project management life cycle management. Okay, Rohit.
So there is, UK has its own BIM plan, which is integrated with the construction management plan, and they have mandated something called COBIE, COBIE, which stands for Construction Operation Building Information Exchange. It is widely used in UK, in the Scandinavian countries, in US, in Australia, definitely, where there's a labor manpower shortage, so they rely on technology. And so the COBIE data is started, so the entire project setup happens in understanding of what level of COBIE data will be extracted from the project, which can be then put into the ERP system of when the project starts getting the asset management happen, the entire asset data and the construction data. And that framework is laid out before starting the project. And therefore, when you extract the COBIE data at any given stage, that is your construction Bible and your asset management. That is your asset for asset management. And I know of 1 or 2 projects in India which is also trying to do that, so which is a heartening thing. So now we're
Yeah.
going to talk about the new trends.
Okay, next slide. You see, internationally, this was happening long back, but in India, it started very recently, maybe 5 years, 10 years time, this is happening. I told you at the beginning, the return from construction project or construction project are to the extent of 5 to 6% only. But in an infrastructure project as a whole, since private parties are investing money in a big way or a huge way, you expect at least 15 to 20% return. And if you want 20% return or 15% return from an infrastructure project, the typical conventional intuitive management will not work. You know, our Indian management concept was you take decision based on your intuition and experience. Okay, maybe some analysis is going on here at the backdrop of your mind, but mostly almost all decisions are taken intuitively based on your experience. Your wisdom was playing a role big way. Okay, that is still valid, but if you want to approach a problem scientifically, you have to do lot of analysis before you take decision. Okay, so our project management scenario is getting into a different trend, which is known as decision making based on construction analytics, construction data analytics. You will not take any decision in a project management sector without doing proper data analysis. Okay, for that you need generation of the data, you need to store the data, you need to structure the data, you need to revive the data. So okay, that I will discuss at a later stage. But you just imagine that construction analytics is another big area of construction management where all decisions are taken based on some data analysis. Okay, I have listed few analysis which we generally do it in construction management scenario. One is constructability analysis. Okay, you all know what is constructability analysis. We are not getting into money part here. It is basically whether this project is possible to do it in terms of technology and in terms of the ground reality. I mean the site reality. Okay, constructability analysis. Whether I can do a project at this particular site or not. For example, you are going to put a port at a particular place. Okay, whether that site is constructable for a port or not, and the technology which you are going to use for construction of the breakwater and construction of other infrastructure facility is possible or not, whether technology is available or not, technology is feasible or not. So they all put together in a package and we call it as constructability analysis. Another analysis which you generally do is productivity analysis. Productivity analysis means, you know, what is the labor standard, what kind of machines you are going to use, what will be the production rate at which you are going to do it, from where you will procure the raw material, at what time the material will come. All those things are coming under the productivity analysis. Okay, even the bidding of the contract is done after doing all this analysis. You cannot bid a project without doing constructivity analysis or productivity analysis. Then contract analysis, you see, you know, in most of the cases, the client is having an upper say in the contract. Okay, client will put a framework for the contract, and the contractor is having only a freedom to submit a responsible bid. But before he submit a bid, he will do the entire contract analysis, including the contract risk analysis, to see what kind of bid marking to be done, what kind of costing he has to do, what kind of material procurement he has to do. Everything is based on the contract analysis. You see, Roy was telling about the variation. They are thriving on variation revenue. You see, you have to see what kind of clauses are put in the variation payment. Okay, depend upon that only you can put your bid, and then you can make up a strategy for getting money through that thing. So contract analysis and delay and claim analysis, that is what I was telling. Delay and claim analysis, another thing. Okay, then revenue analysis, what kind of revenue you are going to get. If you want to increase the revenue from the project, what kind of alternate methods you have to do. Then risk analysis. Risk is a very big area, especially infrastructure projects are. It is not the construction risk alone. Okay, beyond construction risk, there are revenue risk, there are demand risk, there are political risk, regulatory risk, legal risk. Okay, large number of risk exposure is there in infrastructure projects. So you have to do a comprehensive. You see, every risk is finally converting into your revenue stream. Okay, so there is a direct correlation between the risk and the revenue stream which you are going to project it. So everything is to be taken into account while you doing the internal revenue return analysis. Then margin analysis, then cost and project anomalies. These are all various kinds of analytics which you have to do. You need a lot of engineers and data analysts and economists for doing all these things. Okay, construction analytics is a very, very, very recent area where our construction people are heavily depending upon for decision making. Another thing is standardization, benchmarking, and audit. You see, our projects were not having that kind of concept. Standardization was not there, and we were not benchmarking our targets based on certain standards, and we were not doing review and audit. Had it been so, the 25% time and cost overrun would not have happened. So now they are very serious on standardization, benchmarking, and review. Okay, this is a new concept which is coming up in a big way in Indian construction industry. Next slide. Now, another area of construction management new trend is you are going to use technology or integrated project management. I call it as integrated project management. Okay, where you will have a integration of planning, design, procurement, payment, and construction process on a real-time basis in a single platform. Okay, so that is, but that is not that easy. You have to do few things for bringing all those things together. If you want to do integration, few things are very, very much necessary. One thing is centrally managed construction process, bringing design, manufacturing, material sourcing, construction together into one streamline. And a new development which is coming up of late is digital handshake among the stakeholders. It's a very, very important term which we are going to discuss in detail at later. We generally call it as a BIM platform, building information modeling platform. It's a single variable source of truth. All information right from the conceptual planning to the asset management stage is put into a single platform. It's a verifiable platform by any person from the stakeholders group, depend upon the rights given. Okay, and this will be available even at the time of asset management stage. Okay, and if you want to do this thing, technology is very much needed for that. Without technology, you cannot do. Few disruptive technology which are used for for creating this platform or supporting this platform is automated construction equipment robotics. If you want productivity analysis to be integrated with that platform, you need data to be captured. Okay, if you want to capture data, you should have a lot of sensors connected with your equipments. Lot of sensors you have to connect with your robots. Okay, construction robots and construction equipment. So all those data will be fed into the platform, and later on that can be used for productivity analysis. Then Internet of Things, then 3D printing, then AR, VR technology, drone technology. Drone technology, you all know in a wide way there. You see, drone technology can be used for survey and investigation, then site management, then environmental management, health and safety management. Everywhere you can use this drone technology management, and real-time data will be captured and fed into the system where you can use that data for your decision making. Okay, so as I told you, a platform creation and then putting everything on that platform, and yes, in the form of a single variable source of truth for data. And then the third, this disruptive construction disruptive technology is used to assist that thing. Then next one is contract management, digitization of the contract management, which I was talking about. Okay, basically information management through technology, creation, storage, process, and use. Another new trend is coming up is the offsite management, offsite construction management, offsite project management. So you will have pre-engineered structures, you will have precast structures, you will have prefabricated structures and modular construction. Majority of the work will be done in an office room, and remaining things will be done at the site. Okay, but for doing that thing, you need a very good support of the technology and information management system. Okay, and another thing which is implemented in a big way in Indian construction management scenario is HSE, health, safety, and environment management. If you look into any civil engineering syllabus of our country, this subject is not at all included. Okay, safety management is not included in the civil engineering syllabus. Health and safety is not included. Maybe some private university might have introduced at a later stage, maybe within last 2 years or one. But I have not seen any, including IITs, they have not included this as an integral part of the construction management process. If you are going for a FIDI contract and all, health and safety management, HSE management is a prime concern. Okay, your project may get stopped if you are not doing that properly. So increased awareness and implementation of HSE plan in Indian construction project is coming up in a big way. And the last trend which is coming up is optimization. Okay, design optimization. Okay, unless you include design optimization, when I say design optimization, it is spatial optimization. It could be design, structural design optimization. It could be architectural functional design optimization. It could be energy design optimization. It could be MEP design optimization. Okay, environmental impact optimization. So these are all various concepts which are very much required in the modern construction management scenario, and Indian project management is also leaning towards that trend. Okay, and if you want to do all this, to sum up all these things, if you want to do all these things in an integrated way, you need an integration tool. Okay, so without that integration tool, you cannot do any of these things in a systematic way, because collaboration is the most important thing. You cannot work in silo. Architect will work in a different silo. Design engineer will, in a typical Indian scenario, architect will do his work. He will pass on the architectural drawing to architectural drawing to the structural engineers. He will do his structural drawing, taking minimum feedback from the architects, and he will do his structural drawing, and he will pass it on to the planning manager. He will do the scheduling, he will do the costing, and he will do, there will not be much interaction between the planning engineer who is doing the costing and the structural engineer who is doing the structural design. It's an iterative process. Unless you have continuous real-time interaction between all the people who are involved in the planning and design and optimization stage, you cannot come out with a optimized project plan. Okay, so those things are very much needed. I will discuss on that thing in the next slide. Okay, I'll conclude my discussion on the new trends here, and if Roy wants to add up on anything, then he can.
No, we're trying to move things faster because we over time,
Okay.
and I can still see a lot of people staying back, which is very nice. And
Okay.
and a lot of questions which are Rohit is answering as we're speaking, sir. But I would like to take these questions ourselves as well. So I'm trying to move faster. And but before everyone, before while we are at it, let me also announce something. Let me take this forum to announce something. Uh, so one of the reasons why Dr. Thomas agreed to come on board with us is because for the last 2.5 years, we have spent a massive amount of time, money, effort uh, into creating a construction management course, uh, which which Dr. Thomas is the program director for, as well as the course panelists were from Purdue University, Michigan State University, and other prominent universities, including people from Qatar, people from Southeast Asia. And we took our time with the research and the market trends and what will be the gaps coming in the future. And especially the technology platforms that are changing, which the academia is not being able to cope up with right now because of the lack of project experience that the academia has, the real life project experience. So I wanted to take this, we haven't launched it yet. We will launch it. Please stay connected on LinkedIn and LinkedIn, WhatsApp, our website and our blogs, and we will announce the date soon. We are still deciding on the university whom we are going to be partnering with to launch it in India. So it will be simultaneously launched in India, Southeast Asia, USA, and South America. And so just keep your eyes and ears open for that. So let's move to the next slide. BIM in construction industry.
Okay. As I told you, we are going to discuss on the BIM in construction industry. And at the beginning, I said about the massive investment plan and the size of the Indian construction industry. What are the challenges of Indian construction industry? What are the new trends which are coming up in the Indian construction industry in terms of project management? If you want to do all these things in a systematic way, you need a platform for managing all the stakeholders with a single variable, verifiable truth database. Okay. So BIM is an integration platform where all the people, planning engineers, architects, structural engineers, MEP engineers, cost engineers, schedule engineers, then environment sustainability engineers and facilities management brought into a single platform where the data generated by one agency will be made available to the next agency who is going to use the first agency's deliverables as a project input for their thing. So this platform is going to be very helpful. Okay, I will get into the platform straight away. Now you understood what is, you can read it what I have written. Use of technology, resources and tool to create digital representation of buildings and other structural and physical assets. BIM integrate multidisciplinary data to create detailed digital representation. You see, reading this will not make you understand what exactly it is. I will give you a different picture of these models in a very nice way in the next slide. Construction professionals ranging from architects to engineers are going to use. This is what you see. BIM models. Actually, this BIM platform is revolving around 7 models, 7 to 8 models. Okay, the first model I am not going to discuss right now. First model I will take it up the last. Okay, so let me talk about this 6 core BIM models. Okay, out of which 3 are basically geometric models. Just imagine the first model is known as BIM architectural model. BIM architecture model, conventionally what architects are doing, the same thing here also they will do, but in a digital platform. They create a 2D model. Okay, you all know what is 2D model, and they create a 3D model. Okay, it's a functional spatial planning model, 2D plan, elevation, everything, and 3D model they will create. Okay, they will be using software for this thing. Autodesk, Revit, ArchiCAD. I am not very competent in all these softwares, but architects are basically using these platforms for creating this architectural model, 2D models and 3D models. You see, conventionally, once architect create this model, their role is over and they are out of picture. No, in a modern construction management process, they create this model. In this particular, they may be using any software which is listed here, or maybe some other tailor-made software which we are using. Okay. Actually, this they were doing since 2000. Okay, then it was not as a BIM model, it was a CAD design. Okay, CAD design, 2D and 3D design, CAD design. But now the beauty is that once an architect develop a 2D, 3D architectural digital model, everything is available on the computer. Then structural engineer will, and they will post it on the platform. The structural engineer who is going to design the structural component, the material component, they will use the 2D and 3D model developed by the architect as an input, and then they will be creating the structural model. Structural model means structural system. You see, when they create a structural system, and they evaluate the cost. Cost part, once I talk about cost, then only that interaction process will be complete. Now just imagine that they create a series of structural systems. Maybe you structural engineers may be knowing what are the different kind of structural system which you can use in a structure. Okay, so one structural system, one material system. Somebody may be going for a steel structure system, somebody can go for a concrete structural system, or you can go for a composite system, or a different kind of structural system can be used, material can be used. So they will be doing basically the structural design and optimization. Optimization part I will come to later on, but they will do a structural design based on the model which is made available to them by the architects. Okay. If they find some difficulty, architects is having a fancy concept of drawing, but constructability may not be there. Structural stability may not be there for the other architectural concept which they have put forward. They will give it back to the architects and saying that this functional architectural model will not fit into a constructible structural model, so you may have to revise it. So they immediately revise it based on the input given by the structural model, and then they revise it, and again the structural engineer will be doing that structural modeling. So it's a continuous interactive process. Definitely this structural model is having a connection with the cost. So a cost model which I am going to discuss at a later stage will be connected to the structural system, and architect. Suppose architect develop a functional plan, and the structural engineer develop a structural model based on that architect plan. When the cost model is run in the platform at a later stage, if they found that revenue margin is not sufficient, they may bring it back to the architect as well as the structural engineer to revise on the functional plan as well as the structural model, so that your construction cost can be brought down. So a lot of iterative optimization process will be done. These are all possible when everything is available on a digital platform, where the input of the structural engineer, output of the structural engineer, the architect is available to the structural engineer, and structural engineer's output will be available to the cost engineer. But availability of data is not sufficient. Compatibility of data is also very important. The output coming out from the structural model, architectural model, should be compatible with the structural model. Okay, but the softwares are developed in such a way that interoperability will be there. So their output will be automatically the input for the, so those who are doing the primary architecture and structural design will know that AutoCAD drawing will be compatible to the structural ANSYS or structural model like ANSYS or ETAB or that kind of models. Okay, so that compatibility will be there. So BIM structural model is again a 2D, 3D model. Earlier, structural engineers were confining their models to 2D. Now they can convert, because already architectural 3D models are available. With the help of that 3D, 2D models, their structural 2D, 3D models can also be developed. Okay, so you will have a very good visual compatibility on that thing. So once these two models are ready, then these two models are passed on to the MEP developers. Okay, MEP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers, because they can do design only when your structural and functional architectural models are ready. Okay, if that models are ready, maybe level 1 model, not finalized model, that model will be given to the MEP designers. They will be superimposing their mechanical, electrical, and plumbing models to the architecture, fitting to architectural and structural model. So they will create, depend upon the functional requirement and operational requirement of the building. You may need IT, you may have IT requirements, you may have vertical transportation like lift, and then generator, HVAC, plumbing, water supply. Lot of utility requirements are there. Based on the utility requirement of the client, the MEP modeling will be done by the BIM MEP modelers. Okay, you don't think that everything is done by one single person. Architectural models will be developed by architects who are capable of handling the architecture models in a BIM platform. Structural engineers who are capable of handling modeling in a BIM platform will be done by themselves. Then MEP people will be taking care of. Now, you know that these three things, intercompatibility will be a big problem. You develop a plumbing model and you superimpose your plumbing model to a structural model. The pipe may be cutting through a beam. Okay, so the entire structural stability of the construction will be violated. So you need a kind of coordination. So a BIM coordination engineer, who is basically a coordinator, one minute. A BIM coordination engineer will be superimposing 2D architectural model, 2D, 3D structural model, and 2D, 3D MEP model, one over the other, and then just see whether there is a model clash among these three models or not. Okay, if there is a model clash, your IT layout is disturbing your plumbing layout, and your plumbing layout is disturbing your electrical layout, and electrical layout, maybe conduits may be disturbing your structural things, and or all this layout may be disturbing your spatial planning. Okay, if that is there, there will be a coordination meeting among all the design engineers who are working in the area of architectural models, structural models, and MEP models, and they will do a conflict analysis. Okay, they will do a conflict analysis in coordination with each group. Okay, so once that conflict problem is solved and your basic architectural, structural, and MEP 2D, 3D models are finalized, it will be passed it on to the cost engineers and planning engineers for scheduling. Okay, next slide. Okay. So 3D concept is over, design phase is over, and conflict coordination meeting is also over. You have finalized base, and you will resolve all the conflicts which are coming up when you superimpose your structural, architectural, and MEP models. Okay. Once that is done, you are fairly confirmed that this model will work, but still some problem will be there. You will connect this model, 3 models, to another model, or you will develop another model with 4th dimension where time component is also brought into picture. Okay, so you have to sequence the project. Okay, how will you frame? You know, a project will consist of so many project activities, work packages, activities, sub activities, maybe sub projects, work packages, activities, and sub activities. So you have to time schedule the project. Okay, because the client is having a contract requirement that the project is to be completed within 1.5 years. So unless you model it and see whether your structural, architectural, and MEP model is fitting to the time requirement target of the client or not. Okay, if not, you will be again going back and iterating on the models. Okay, maybe yes.
So I wanted to interrupt you. I wanted to give you because a lot of people, when we talk about 4D, think it's a visual simulation of the construction phases.
Exactly.
But that is not the truth here. That is one of the aspects where you can visualize, but that's for dumb people. I had done a project. I was personally involved in a project way back in London, where the entire project brief for us was 3 lines, and that was, I need to anticipate what I will require on site 1 month ahead, but I cannot warehouse for more than 5 days ahead. That was the only directive, and we had to sign a contract that we can.
You have gone far away from that scenario now. Even scheduling is done on a sensitivity analysis basis. You see, planning engineer cannot prepare a schedule and do the project the way in which he is thinking of, right? Okay, so you have to go back to the architectural plan, you have to go back to the structural plan, you have to go back to the architect. Not only that, cost is associated. When you talk about the 5D cost estimation model, so you will be bringing quantification or quantifying the project activities and then multiplying with the rate of that particular quantity, and then bringing a 5th dimension, cost. Okay, 4th is only time dimension. In fact, you cannot do time dimension without cost dimension, but BIM people have written it as 5D, thinking that 4D can be a standalone thing. 4D cannot be a standalone thing based on 2D and 3D thing unless you develop 5D. Okay, because 4D, the time dimension is highly correlated to cost dimension. Okay, so you create a cost dimension and then you put it in your optimization sensitivity analysis, time, design, and cost. Okay, so entire things will be, if your cost is going up, you may bring down the time, or you may bring down the design philosophy, or you may alter the construction philosophy. Technology changes may be brought in. So all those things can be done. One of the biggest advantage of BIM platform is sensitivity analysis. A small change in structural design, how it is going to affect the time schedule, and how it is going to affect the cost aspect. Okay, so that is the beauty of but in a conventional project management setup, that cannot be done. Okay, you change the material, how it is going to affect the time, how it is going to affect the cost, how it is going to affect the structural design. Again, you have to go back and then do that thing. Okay, so entire data transfer will be manual data transfer will be very difficult. Architects will be working from scratch because he doesn't have anything in the digitized form. Now here, everything is already done. He will be doing a small change and then getting things revised in a fraction of second. Okay, so 4D and 5D are basically concurrently happening, sequencing model and cost estimation modeling. Okay, time cost iteration of the project which you have developed based on the structural, architectural, and MEP design. Okay, sixth one is sustainability model. Again, sustainability model, though it is marked as sixth model, it is cost associated. Okay, so if you think that everything, your cost is perfect, your time is perfect, your design is perfect, but if you are not meeting the sustainability requirement, then you have to go back and then revise your entire construction process to meet the energy consumption calculation, because operation and maintenance things are going to affect in a big way if you don't do your, as I was talking in the initial stage, your planning, design, construction, everything is going to influence on your sustainability and operation. Okay, then you finalize everything. Up to 6D is the construction phase. You finalize everything. Now you have a complete scenario mapping of your pipeline layout. You have a complete scenario of the equipment use, that details of the equipment, what is the warranty of the equipment, which company is providing the spare parts. In a BIM database model, when you suggest a equipment for installation, the entire database associated with that equipment will be available in the BIM platform. Okay, so the whatever data you have generated at the construction phase and planning phase will be fed into the facilities management model, 7D model, and it will be so easy for the facilities manager to do the contract management of the utility subcontractors, preventive maintenance, okay, and then contract management of subcontractors, revision. All those things can be done if the planning, utility, construction, layout, and equipment details are available to the facilities manager. Now what happens, a facilities manager will take over. He will not be knowing how the electricity installation is done, how the plumbing is done, what kind of equipments are used. Okay, all those things will not be available to him. Even if it is made available to him, it will not be having interoperability in his model. He will have to feed all the data manually to his asset management model and then do it. Okay, these are the 6 models which I have discussed. Now we will go back to model number 1D, previous slide. 1D is basically the framework or the standardization framework within which these 6 models are created and operated. Okay, so if you want to govern the process of BIM platform operation, you need to have some standards. Otherwise, what will happen? Everybody will develop data according to their convenience, and interoperability will not be there. Data compatibility will not be there, validation will be very difficult. So internationally, ISO 19650 is the standard which is generally used for BIM project management. And based on that ISO 19650, clients, primarily clients or the regulatory agencies have developed BIM execution plan handbooks. Okay, suppose NHA is deciding to do or implement their project on a BIM platform. What NHA will do, they will not leave it to the consultants to do their own BIM execution plan framework. They will develop BIM execution plan, okay, in the form of a standard template and supply to architects, supply to design engineering consultants, supply to MEP consultants, supply to sequencing consultants, supply to cost engineers, and even the asset management people. So they all will be work within the framework of that standard template, which is discussed in the BIM execution plan. So I can say that BIM execution plan developed by the client is the primary framework within which the execution is done. You see, most of the US states have developed BIM execution plan standard templates, but India state doesn't have a BIM execution plan so far. Some of the public sector organizations are now initiating for developing BIM execution plan, or maybe some consultants are helping them to develop BIM execution plan based on the international BIM execution plans. Okay, I have seen US, many states have developed their own BIM execution plans for their public infrastructure projects. So that will be a standard template which is used for creating the plan. Okay, next slide. Going back.
I wanted to add something here.
You want to talk something on the agenda, BIM agenda.
I want to talk about the BIM execution plan.
Oh yes, go continue.
Yes. So one of the things which I think I mentioned at the beginning of these slides is that homegrown talent. And because one of the important aspects of this particular webinar was how does this impact your careers? Now, how it impacts your careers is BIM execution planning is not taught in India. I mean, there are few people like us at Zigurat who do, but other than that, nobody trains.
We don't have a standard template also.
Yeah, there is no template, and that is why India but in US, that is, you cannot have a project without a BIM execution plan. And in India, now with NITI Aayog and everyone say having a BIM execution plan, starting from Nagpur Metro, the much celebrated Bangalore Airport, Guwahati Airport, all of these airports, the Indira Gandhi International Airport, the phase 1, reconstruction and extension, everything, I have seen it myself because I'm involved with some of these projects, have a BIM execution plan. But who has created it? People from UK, people from US coming in. We have the people here because our environmental factors may differ from that of US. Okay, so we need, that is the government and the planning commission saying we need people in India to be trained and then brought up to speed so that they can create themselves, because our construction constrictions and conditions are different. So that therein lies the big challenge and the big opportunity. Whenever there's a challenge, there is an opportunity for all the people staying in this webinar, is that you can become BIM managers. BIM managers do not manage people, they manage BIM. And they manage the construction management aspect of BIM. And whereas in India, whenever we hear manager, we think they're managing people. No, they're managing the project or part of a project. And that is the opportunity that we are talking about. One of the opportunities is become elevated and do those kind of jobs.
And Roy, this BIM execution plan, what I was talking about is a framework, but for each project, you have to develop your own BIM execution plan within that framework. Okay, it's a huge task. That depend upon, as you said, project is happening in a unique environment. The environmental scenario will change, the productivity scenario will change, everything will change. And then you have to create your own unique BIM execution plan for each project.
And we do that, sir, for any of our projects, whether we are doing a Amazon data center or a
Yeah.
fine arts, we create our own BIM execution plans.
But
Whereas
within the framework of that ISO 9000 and BIM agenda.
yeah, but in India, they hire firms like ours from US to build it in India.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that's the serious challenge. Why can't we do it in India? The reason is, sir, and the reason to come to on a serious note is that even I see a firm like an institution like NICMAR now saying we teach BIM. But how many of the people who are actually going and training BIM have done a BIM execution plan? Most of it is people who have seen a BIM execution plan.
Rohit, that's the irony of Indian academics, engineering college issue, because most of the faculty members are not aware of the BIM platform and technology. Okay, so they are hesitant to implement that in the syllabus. So unless an industry coming up and then shaking hand with the university, this will not happen.
Hopefully, it will happen soon. But anyway, coming back to BIM, because in India it's a little late. So let's
So the next slide is on BIM advantages. I have comprehended whatever I have discussed so far in a single page in the form of BIM advantages. If you read it, you will understand that everything I have already explained. BIM aid conflict resolution right from contextual planning to the execution. I told you that it's an interactive process, and a lot of conflicts can occur. You see, functional conflicts. It's not personal conflict. Functional conflicts, design conflicts can occur. This conflict resolution can be very easily done on the BIM platform because data interoperability will be there among the models. So it will be very easy. Experts from each domain and specialist area can integrate their components into the same model to automate clash identification and rectification. This is a very big challenge actually. In a normal environment, nobody will be able to visualize a conflict between the functional drawing and an MEP drawing. But if you have this drawing overlapped on a BIM platform, you can see some hidden clashes. Okay, those hidden clashes can be resolved by the respective domain or a specialist area expert. That is another advantage. And I have been telling repeatedly this what if analysis and simulation. Okay, it's possible only when you have an integrated platform with all compatible data available right from the planning stage to the construction stage. Okay, so if I change my spatial planning, what will happen to my time? What will happen to the cost? If I change material sourcing, what will happen to my time? What will happen to my cost? If I change the structural design, what will happen? If I put a objective constraint on the time, what should I do at the back end? Okay, all those reverse iterative analysis can be done. We call it as a simulation process. Okay, so construction entire life cycle simulation process is possible in the BIM environment. Another advantage is the authenticity of the data which is available. You see, this data is made available on a single platform. Any authorized person can verify it. Okay, but changing is possible only by the respective authorized person. That is, there will be restriction on the changing of the data and all, but it will be made available to what data? Design data, planning data, design data, technical data, legal data, commercial data, everything is made available and anybody can see it. okay, in the entire life cycle of the project. The process of BIM support the creation of intelligent data. It's not only managing the data. I told you the information management, you need to create intelligent data. You need to store the intelligent data. You should be in a position to operate on the intelligent data. Everything is possible on this BIM platform. Okay. And efficient project execution through connecting teams, data, and workflows at every stage of project. It's a comprehensive project management platform. Okay. So I'll say BIM, it's project management, digital project management, I will say. Okay. I'll give another name for this BIM, digital project management.
Okay. It is. So that is what it is called in Australia, digital engineering. And when we take it further, it is digital project management. That is exactly what it is called. If you go to Australia, it is digital engineering and digital project management.
Okay, next slide.
So you hit the nail.
Right. You want to add anything on this thing? Fair enough.
I think I just want to add one thing, and that's the sad part of it is because India is so much into IT development rather than IT creation. Is that we always associate technology with software, and that is the primary mistake. And I'm seeing a lot of the question answers as well that Rohit is answering. Is let's not confuse ourselves with Revit, AutoCAD, this Excel Manager, Rebuy2. No, that
I don't know anything of that. I'm not supposed to know.
Matter. Let's be software agnostic. Let's talk about the digital, as you said, the digital engineering and the digital project management, which gives to digital asset management. So we are moving to a digital age. And it is software agnostic. It does not matter whether you have an iPhone or an Android phone. If you are using a smartphone, likewise, it does not matter whether you're using Bentley or Revit or any other software. It is important to understand the technology and how the technology fits into the broader construction management framework, because that is it. It is a digital simulation of a construction project before the project happens. What it means is that while AutoCAD, we were denoting construction elements with lines and dots and circles with geometry. We are actually not modeling the geometry. We are constructing the geometry in BIM. So that is the difference. We are not denoting. We are actually constructing, finding out the construction issues, as Sir is saying, increasing the efficiency, and then going to site. So we, in BIM, or virtual design and construction, as we say in US, we actually virtually construct the building. First structure, architectural massing, then structure, then architecture, then plumbing, then it can be electrical, and then HVAC or HVAC, and then electrical, then fire, plumbing first, definitely. So we are constructing rather than we are drawing. So that is the difference. All of these software are not 3D modeling software. They are database software. It is the I in the BIM. And that is, I think, sir, is what I keep on hearing in India. What software for this? What software for that? Does not matter. Understand construction management, BIM becomes easy.
You see, that's why I put a lot of effort on the construction management process flow rather than on the software part, because that is very minor part in the BIM platform management.
Okay.
Okay, next. See, I have put a graph to just give an idea about the growth of BIM in India. If you look at 2019, not interested to nice to have was the scenario. If you approach a construction company for BIM implementation or the status of BIM implementation, they will either say, I'm not interested, or at the maximum, they say that nice to have it, but we don't have it. Okay, that was the scenario. And architects or structural engineers at their individual capacity, they were using, not architects to a great extent, structural engineers using the standard structural analysis software, they were using in bit and pieces. And that definitely that's a BIM, in today's context, that is a BIM component, but not to the level of sophistication we have with the current day softwares. Okay. But now if you look at it, not interested or nice to have it, now we have come to a stage where maximum number of people are asking, we must have it, and we already have it, and then what else we can do with the BIM? Okay, so going to 5D, 6D, the Indian concept of BIM was 2D, 3D model to the maximum MEP model. Okay, that was the fundamental definition of BIM in India since last 10 years. Now they are coming out from that restricted framework and then asking, what is the extension possible in the BIM platform beyond 2D, 3D model creation at the design stage or planning stage? There comes the 5D, 6D, 7D prefabrication. One point I missed there, scanned BIM models. Okay, now you have a reconstruction project where an existing infrastructure project is there and you don't have any data available to you with respect to structural, architectural, as well as MEP. Then what you do, just like photocopying a paper matter, a laser printer will be used to scan the entire building, and the data from the scan images will be captured in the form of spatial data, structural data, MEP data, and that will be used for creating modified architectural, structural, and MEP models. Okay, it's basically a scanner where you don't have any previous data. You just scan through the building. You put the building in a scanner, and the scanner will scan the building bit by bit and then convert the entire bitwise data into useful spatial design and other utility data, and then you can work upon. Okay.
Sir, it is not just in a building scenario. Let's in an infrastructure scenario today, more and more, when a lot of infrastructure is getting built on existing infrastructure, especially in the urban area.
You see, when I say building is not just building any physical asset, what I wanted to say.
So there are a lot of ground utilities which have legacy data and there is no data. So what we are using in space of LIDAR, or which is scan to BIM, that is LIDAR scanners, we are using GPRs, which is ground penetrating radars. To see what is there under the ground, so that if we are going to dig, we're not going to disrupt an electricity line going, or a optical fiber cable going through, or something, or a plumbing something, water or drainage going through. So it is not just above ground; it is also below ground, where we are using ground penetrating radar.
They will be using drone technology and this radar technology. Both they will be using for locating the spatial things, utility, underground utility, hidden things. Then maybe some ground investigation also you may be able to do it.
That was the primary reason to use GPRs. But now it is more to do with, especially urbanization and urbanization on top of urbanization. It is used for figuring out what the utilities are underground. But it was primarily brought to India for the metro rails, where they were trying to drill it.
You see, that will be very useful for urban reconstruction projects, especially because utilities are hidden and very complex, overlaying each other. Okay, so working on that will be extremely difficult. If you go to any government agency for layout map of anything, you see everything is evolved, developed over a period of time. Nobody is keeping the data.
And so a lot of people ask me this question sometimes when I'm in colleges doing seminars, is what will NHAI use BIM for? I said, boss, forget about what the new construction is. It will use scan to BIM for ground penetrating radar to understand what is going to build on top of. So forget about what it will build later. What it has to build on top of is very important because of the rapid urbanization, even at towns and villages, and with underground utilities, electricity coming in. So, but moving on.
Okay, next slide. So, okay. Next slide.
Yeah. Okay.
You see, I think Roy may be able to say something more on these companies. I have no much idea about these companies. You can just glance through and then say. You see, I have listed few major organizations which are offering BIM services in India. Okay, this is just out of curiosity we have put it these slides. Around 10, 12 companies and some major companies are also there. Pinnacle Infotech, and towards the end we have put some big private organization. Okay,
So
there's it.
Pinnacle has more than close to 5,000 people.
Oh,
It is the largest BIM production company in the world. It is owned by someone called Bimal Patwari. He is IIT Kharagpur, IIM Lucknow,
okay.
and they have offices. They started up with an office in Durgapur. Now they have office in Durgapur, Jaipur, and they're building in Ahmedabad and Ahmedabad or Surat, one of the two. And they have offices across the world as well. But the firms which are listed here are more of outsourcing or BIM in India. They do a lot of Indian projects.
India only I have put.
Yeah. Tristic does a lot of work. Ashir, I actually haven't heard. Silicon Valley, yes. Mars Group, Excelize, yes, they are out of Excelize is owned by a good friend of mine, Pratap Dopte, and his wife, Sonali Dopte. They are based out of Aurangabad and have offices in Mumbai as well. Repcon Group, Virtual Design Studio, and a lot of this. What it does now, yes. So I wanted, this is very important, and I wanted to highlight this, and nobody really talks about this in detail. But it is very, 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 very important that you see HCL, Accenture, Tata, and many more. So forget Tata. Tata is an obvious choice. But TCS, TCE, Tata Consulting Engineers, HCL, Wipro, Accenture, they have so many licenses. They do BIM. And they do BIM for infrastructure, asset management, and manufacturing companies. And they integrate the BIM in the asset management piece. So if you see, you want to, a lot of people say, oh, let me choose a career between, I want to be in IT, I want to do computer sciences, I want to work for Accenture. Stay in your field of civil engineering or mechanical engineering or architecture. If you are doing good with BIM and such technologies, you can work in Accenture, whether you will be competing, where you can work with a firm like Accenture and Wipro and HCL, even staying within your own domain. You don't have to move domain from a civil engineer to an IT. So that is very, very crucial in the Indian construction diaspora today to understand that BIM, it enables you to be within your domain, the engineering discipline that you have spent 4 years learning, and still work with the largest IT firms.
Okay, next. I think it is very obvious some job roles we have. I have not put within the sector what are the grades and all, because I am not aware of all those things. In an architectural BIM modeling consultancy service, grade 1, grade 2, all those things I may not be able to further discuss on. But 3D BIM service, architectural service, lot of engineers are go back one.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so architects are basically concentrating the 3D area. 3D structural, civil and structural engineers will be very useful. 3D MEPF service, civil, electrical, mechanical, fire engineers will be apt for this particular service. 4D construction sequencing, civil and construction management engineers will be widely used. 5D cost integration, definitely when you do a sequencing and cost integration, other parties are also involved, but basically the show is driven by civil construction and construction managers. 5D cost integration, civil construction management engineers. 6D sustainability, civil, environmental, electrical, mechanical, fire engineers and facilities management, because it is basically sustainability optimization. So you need to have all the people in the group. Different type of sustainability will be energy sustainability, cost sustainability, economic sustainability, financial sustainability. All those things will be coming into picture. But to a great extent, of course, energy sustainability. Then 70 facilities management, civil engineers and facilities management professionals will be working in that area. You see, facilities management actually is an offshoot of civil engineering only. If you don't know civil engineering, you cannot do much of the facilities management. So I have been working in this area, facilities management. I am heading a UK-based college in Muscat, a facilities management college where they are offering a 4-year degree program in facilities management. Okay, so now few Australian and UK universities are offering postgraduate program in facilities management after civil engineering. So people can, so this going in a big way, facilities management, because the operation phase is going to be very crucial, as you said at the beginning, the OPEX management. Okay, so a lot of, and facilities manager cannot do anything much without getting involved right from the planning process. So now every construction company will have invariably a facilities manager also involved in the planning and design process, because his input also will be taken into consideration while doing the optimization of planning and other things. Okay, Roy will be able to say much more on this thing.
Yeah, I mean, the first one, the rapid transport system in Amritsar, that was in 2009. Okay.
First generation.
Yes. So BIM is not very new to India. I have been in this industry since 2005, and they're going around the world and talking about BIM. Okay. And the same people are now coming to India and charging in dollars and doing BIM execution plan for Indians. The same people I have given seminars to on what is BIM and the uses of BIM. So the irony of the situation is that Bangalore International Airport. So just so you know, the NITI Aayog has mandated BIM on all major infrastructure projects, starting with airports, metros, rail stations, metro stations, and metros, all metros, and also a certain NHAI construction, road construction for after, I think, 10 kilometers or more or something like that.
Roy, I have a question. Is it mandated or it is suggested?
So the government has not put it in words that it is mandated, but in all the contracts, it is mandated.
Okay, okay.
So, for example, if INFS, which was there no more, was to get the contract, they will have to sign the BIM contract.
Okay.
So it started. So it was advising before that. Now with Nagpur Metro, it started mandating.
Okay, okay. Very
because
good.
Nagpur Metro is a success story. So I think, sir, there are a lot of question answers, but I think there are a couple of people who have been raising their hands for a long time. Faisal Mustaqim, you want to ask something?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Thank you. Okay. I want to ask about the. Okay, I got the BIM process and the integrated project style, but you need an integrated project contract for that. And and there are some templates I found, and can you shed some light on it and the risk associated with integrated project delivery contracts? Uh, Apart from the getting the conceptual estimate and conceptual time frame.
So, sir, what he's asking is the risk associated with an integrated project contract, where the contract might be. So, in India, unfortunately, there aren't too many integrated project contracts because the Indian mindset has not gone beyond turnkey and not started differentiating between a turnkey project and an integrated project. So that is one of the challenges. But sir, if you have anything you want to add.
You see, most of the infrastructure projects are to a great extent integrated projects only now. You see, there will be an SPV created for executing the project. The SPV will be giving subcontract to EPC contractors, then planning contractors or PMC contractors. But once they give subcontracts to various domain experts, this BIM execution plan will still valid for them. Each one will be operating within the framework of BIM execution plan. So there will be integrated operation and compatibility. That is what I think.
So there is, if you present, I think a good example of integrated project delivery contract will be again the Nagpur Metro, where the single contract moves from the pre-construction to the asset management. So it envelops all three of it. And I do not know if I can get hold of it, but it is public. It is in the public domain. Stay in touch with me. I will try and find it for you, or you can even. I think you will find it by just googling it.
Yeah, I found some. I found some. That's why.
Yeah. So it is an example of things that can be right and also things that can be wrong. But that was the first major step in India for non, I mean, or a major infrastructure development, urban infrastructure development with an IPT contract. And because IPT contracts are generally not given to in the private sector, because it is either bid build. So it depends. I can probably find out a couple of more projects and share with you. Just find me out on LinkedIn and stay in touch. But Nagpur Metro would be a prime example of a IPD contract. That the challenges are in implementation of that because of the lack of skilled manpower in delivering an execution plan and the construction management which integrates technology. The pitfalls aren't any, because the world over, that is the norm. It is always that people would always prefer IPD contracts because it safeguards the actual project owners. Okay. However, it is very difficult to find partners who will take up an IPD project, and that is the challenge, not the other way around.
Okay, I feel just one challenge in that getting the conceptual estimate and conceptual time schedule, because that will be the governing stake for the other stakeholders. Yeah, I get.
Nice.
Okay.
Mohammed Akib, you wanted to say something? Okay. Let me ask. Yeah, Udesh.
Hello. Yeah, hello. Good evening, sir. Am I
Yeah,
audible?
yeah.
Hello.
Yes, Akib, we can hear you.
Yeah. This is
This is
Udesh,
Udesh.
sir. Yeah, sir. I'm going to pursue my masters in the coming month, in the in the first week of Jan, from University of Texas at Arlington, from USA. Hello.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, so will that impact my career? Means how will be the exposure? Can you just tell me, sir?
You have already decided to take up a master's program. In which area you are going to do your master's?
Texas, sir.
No, Texas, fine. Which area? In construction
See,
management?
yeah, construction management, sir.
Okay. When you take up the construction management, see that your electives are having sufficient number of digitization oriented construction management courses. So definitely that will cover at least some of the basic things.
Okay, so how is the exposure in US? Means how will be the criteria? Can you just tell us? Tell me.
Uh, You see, US education, I am not very familiar with. Maybe Parth will be able to, if Parth is there, then he will be able to talk little more on the. But lot of electives will be there. Now US is introducing this digital transformation and digital construction in a big way. Definitely some good courses
Yeah, there are
contributed.
like means there are the courses like BIM. Means I
They
have the
have a course on
courses.
BAM.
Yeah, I have the course in BIM.
So you take those kind of courses in your elective so that if you are interested to get into to this stream.
So
Yeah,
it is going to be very difficult without taking on BIM or digital engineering, because then you will be restricted to if you want to pursue a career there, then without taking digital, like Dr. Thomas is saying, BIM or whatever they might call it, digital engineering. Without those, you will not get jobs in
Unfortunately, in India,
universities.
most of the post-graduation program doesn't have this digitization component. Okay.
exactly, sir. Exactly.
And without that, those components, you will not get jobs in the major cities.
And
Okay.
also,
Okay.
And
you
you will
can,
not even get internships.
Exactly, sir.
okay. And also what you can do is along with your masters, you can take up some of the academic courses like Technostruct academic courses to supplement your knowledge in the BIM area.
Yeah, I
And
have done with the BIM ready complete. I have already
ah,
completed with that.
so then it will be very easy for you to do that BIM of Texas or
Yeah,
maybe.
trust me, it is slightly on a higher level than what you will be learning in Texas. But
So
Yeah,
it will be easy for him.
yeah,
And take up a
exactly.
good internship project on BIM platform and then do it once again.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
yeah. Stay in touch, Udesh. I mean, we are a pretty large company in US, and
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
yeah, so stay in
Yeah,
touch.
yeah,
But
sure,
that's
sir.
a long way to go now. Now concentrate on going and starting. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure, sir.
Okay.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Cable.
Hello.
Speaking.
Hello.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Sir, I have a question, but sir, I am comfortable in Hindi.
Yeah.
So
Bolo, bolo. I will try to speak in
sir,
English.
actually, ओके सर सर एक्चुअली मैं इंटरेस्टेड हूँ बीम कोर्स करने के लिए बट मैंने कई जगह देखा इस पे नेट वगैरह पे तो समझ में नहीं आ रहा है कुछ इसके ड्यूरेशन 6 मंथ बता रहा है कुछ मास्टर्स के लिए बता रहा है तो मैं ये चाहता हूँ कि क्या बेस्ट होगा मेरे लिए कि अगर मैं स्ट्रक्चर इंजीनियर में जाना चाहता हूँ
देखो
हेलो
ये yes, I am also associated with Technostruct, so is Dr. Thomas, and this is a forum. ये जो forum है ना, ये forum is for not Technostruct's forum. ये construction management का forum. So मैं Technostruct Academy को represent करना नहीं चाहता. तो एक
नहीं
काम ये करो आप
जी
आके आप अपना नंबर टेक्स्ट कर दो,
जी
ठीक है,
ओके ओके
और
ओके सर
ग्रुप में चैट में मैं क्या करूंगा,
ओके
अपने जो एक सीनियर बिम मैनेजर है, नॉट फ्रॉम द एकेडमी बट फ्रॉम टेक्नोस्ट्रक्ट, सीनियर बिम मैनेजर है रोहित, उसको बोलूंगा वो कल शाम को, दिन के टाइम बहुत बिजी होता है, शाम को कॉल करेगा, आपको कोई भी कोर्स का पूछना है ना, मतलब नॉट जस्ट टेक्नोस्ट्रक्ट एकेडमी, यू कैन आस्क अबाउट जिगुराट और whatever those courses are, we will tell you. Okay, so don't worry about it, because right now talking about BIM courses, वो अच्छा ही लगता है because we are all representing
No,
Technostruct
no,
also.
no, जी, जी, okay, sir. सर एक्चुअली क्या है,
नंबर छोड़
आई
दो,
आई एम
रोहित आपको कॉल करेगा और आपको
जी जी
जो भी
ओके ओके
जैसे भी कोर्सेज देखे आपने उसके बारे में वो बता
जी
देगा,
जी
मेरिट्स एंड नॉन मेरिट्स डिपेंडिंग मेरिट्स आपके करियर पाथ के हिसाब से, ठीक है?
ओके ओके सर, ठीक, ओके सर,
ओके,
ओके।
थैंक यू। केवल सोलंकी, do you have any question? You have raised your hand. Okay. Yes, Keval. Yeah, Keval.
Yeah,
Carry on.
sir. So yeah, it was a excellent presentation, and it was very good insight of BIM. And right now in India, we are taking like, as per my knowledge, we are taking lot of outsourcing project in BIM, right? And there is lot of work in our industry. Also, we in India, we are having some of the BIM courses, and students are now getting familiar with it. But what I wanted to ask is like, is all our Indian BIM companies willing to take freshers in BIM for the BIM job?
Okay, so here is a very good question. And sir, this is a question I think everybody wants to ask. Now, what is the wrong with, why BIM? Why do freshers have problems in getting jobs? So think about me. I am a director with a multinational engineering firm, okay, Technostruct Engineering, or Technostruct, which is the BIM firm. Now, if I hire someone, okay, and then what? Say for example, I hired you. You have learned Revit or something from somewhere, okay, but trust me, if I hire you, I will have to train you for at least 4 to 6 months. Okay, I will hire you, put you on a little bit of training, induction. Then I will make you work on some dummy project. Then I will put you with a project where there are more seniors and you will shadow them. You will see what is happening and what not is happening. By the time I can put you on a project where I can earn money from you, which we call billable resources. Okay, it will be 4 to 6 months. Whereas if I hire experienced people, that is 1 to 2 months. Okay. For the first, the extra time I'm spending on you is my investment, and not a lot of companies want to do that investment. Correct.
Right, sir. Yeah.
Now, somebody also asked about the course. Now, for example, the academy courses that you see did not start as a course. We started the academy in India and Mexico because we could not hire people. In India, BIM is equal to Revit. Cannot hire them. Okay. So we started this course so that we can hire. We did not even advertise for the first 3 years. We will get 5 students, we will hire 3, rest we will place somewhere else. Okay. It grew, word of mouth, whatever, luck, God's grace. And so our course is basically our induction program. So it does not teach you software and then make you do on a capstone project or something. No, our course is about making you work on a project, maybe a data center or some building or some 100-story building, God knows. And to make you work on that project, we will have to train you on the technology and certain software for the first 4 to 6 months. And then you will be ready to work on that project. Once you have worked on that project, then you have the project experience where even if I hire you, it will take me 1 week to put you on a billable project. Okay. So therefore, when the idea is, how can I get project experience, real project experience, so that when I sit across the table and give an interview, I can say, boss, I am not a fresher. I have done this project. I have done the modeling. I've done the coordination. I've taken out quantities. I have done some reports on 5D. I've done scan to BIM and all of this. Okay. So if you put me on a project, I will be able to work on this project. So don't think I'm a fresher. Okay. And I have an experience certificate with me of the project I have done. So that is why freshers have a hard time getting jobs, because they don't have project experience and nobody wants to invest time. Okay. Because time is money. It means hardware cost, software cost, infrastructure cost, HR cost, and opportunity cost. If I had hired an experienced guy in place of you, I would have earned this much money by now. Okay. So those are the things. So whatever you do, maybe do a course with Technostruct, with Zigurat, with whoever you want to do, I don't know. But make sure you're getting a good project experience, a real project, not a dummy project. Okay. Which you can go and show that in this course, I've done a course with this company, and this company has done this project, and I have worked on this. Then the interviewer thinks, oh, so I can hire him and put him on my project. Okay. I gave a long answer, but that is the challenge and that is the solution. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
Thank you.
hey, Roy. This is Parth. Would you mind if I add a few points to that?
Yeah, go ahead. But before you add, there was a question on construction management, okay, which you were to answer.
Okay. So
Which I will ask that question after this.
okay, I'm sorry. You know, I'm traveling and I have real bad internet connection right now. I hope that you guys are able to hear me. You know, and I was in this question, so I thought I can just add a few points to yours, and then we can take the same question that you're mentioning. So, you know, one small point, you know, with everything, whatever Roy said, 100% correct. One thing that he missed out, which, you know, the moment I will put forth, that's going to come up. You know, fresher is very subjective thing when it comes to building information and modeling. You know, people with even 5-8 years of experience in various firms, you know, who consider us as their competition, we consider still them as a fresher, because quality, you know, what you want to do, what you actually have to achieve, and something that you know, you have to have a know-how. You know, BIM is not just about modeling or resolving clash. You know, something that can happen in 3D world does not mean that will happen in the physical world, in the physical construction aspects. And that is something where we were not able to figure out before we started our firm, our academic unit, I would say, moreover. You know, we were trying to hire from the people who had worked with other BIM institutes. You know, there are a lot of BIM consulting firms, and you know, we thought that okay, they should be good enough for us to support our office in US, in San Francisco, Redwood City, LA, you know, wherever we have projects in. But that did not work out because their mentality was more of like, okay, we have modeled it, you know, as per the design drawing, good enough. They were good with that. You know, they were good with starting the blocks, you know, right from the design drawing because somebody taught them right. Now comes the coordination process. There are 100 clashes. You know, I'm being conservative. It could be 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, depending on how complex the project is. But there are 100 clashes. They would resolve at least 70 of them for me. And, you know, when I would start looking at it, maybe, you know, I would consider only 5 of them resolved. The remaining 65 would, yes, in a virtual world, be, you know, in a place where something is not clashing with the other component. And when I say something, it could be a mechanical duct not clashing with a structural steel, or a plumbing pipe not clashing with a cable tray, an electrical cable tray, or vice versa, or anything else. You know, for them, something not clashing is a clash resolved, but that is not how it works. And we have to go back to, you know, maybe 10-15 years back, where people actually understand just by looking at something, you know, which is on a 2D piece of paper, as to, hey, if this has to be resolved, if this is going to be clashing, we have to move something, or we have to move it left, you know, even without just taking something up or down. Usually everyone's method is, you know, if there's a plumbing pipe running through, say, about 10 feet, 15 feet, or a conduit, or a cable bank, or a cable tray running, you know, long lengths, they do not understand that just resolving clashes does not mean being clash free. We have to make sure that the constructability increases, the construction cost goes down. You know, you have to understand that what can be done actually on the field, and you would never know that until and unless you have actually experienced it while, well, being in India or being anywhere else. you cannot do it till you are actually on a job site. And that is where, Technostruct Academy brings in the experience that we have, brings in the experience that our guys being on the field, burning their hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, 16 hours a day, being on the field, trying to understand what is the right way of construction. Because what a book say, or what a what's a theoretical process of resolving anything says, does not mean it's right, because you need to know what is done. So being a fresher for us, somebody who is 5 years experienced in a consulting firm, being present locally or being an outsourcing unit, like, I would not be naming them here, obviously, but that's not how it is done. You have to know the right way, and which is why we were tired of hiring people from them, and we thought that, okay, let's start our academy, let's train them. And the initial thought, like Roy mentioned, we were going to hire all of them. We outgrew our strengths first in our academy, because the influx of people coming in were so high that we were not able to imbibe everyone, and hence other peoples were starting take the advantage of it, which is amazing. I mean, they are our friends. There's it's not like a competition that we would not give you, or anything like that. But so fresher is very subjective, and what you need to know to do it the right way is something that you need to learn. 5-10 years of experience of doing a software does not mean you are experienced. You could still be a fresher to somebody who is probably, let's forget Technostruct. There will be bigger fishes outside the world. World is pretty big, so you could still be a fresher to them, even after a lot of years of experience. So BIM is a small world. BIM is a new niche, and we need to treat it accordingly. Were we able to answer your question?
Yes, sir. So like, I think it was like answer very correctly, like, unless and until we are not having experience on working with the BIM processes plus and the technology and the tools, we won't be able to understand the
Yes, it's
BIM.
not a software. Let's
Yeah,
start with that. It's not a software.
yeah, right. Yeah,
Parth,
thank you so much, sir.
Mhm.
One point. Somebody was asking about US education and digitization project management. Could you please explain a little bit on that?
Sure, sir. Do we know the question, or would you mind please repeating it?
He is asking, he is joining a construction management program in US, I think University of Texas, Arlington.
Okay.
So how far the course is covering this digital transformation and BIM, etc. in US university courses? He just wanted to know.
Okay. Well, I can specifically speak about UT Arlington. Let's forget about all other courses. I mean, we are there. We have our campus drives. We are present in UT Arlington in their campus interviews every summer. Which is when the hiring process happens. UT Arlington, while they're really nice, with implementation amongst all other UTs, we are talking about UT Austin, or even Texas A&M University, or UT Dallas. UT Arlington has the least amount of exposure when it comes to the real technology which is happening these days, and BIM is amongst one of them. There are multiple of it, and and for a fact, a lot of universities, and the main reason why these universities likes of Virginia Tech or Purdue or TAMU, Texas A&M University, they're trying to partner with us for education, is because we have the industry know-how, and we have the academia, with likes of yourself, Dr. Thomas, and a lot of other colleagues that we have within our institute. We have the mix of both the worlds, and which is why these institutes are really liking us, these universities, which we're talking about. And we are able to give the industry experience to the professors of these universities, as to, because this world is moving so fast. I mean, BIM, what was there back in 2010, 2011, when it was more in the inception, is almost nullified and has grown at least 10 times to what it is right now. In the speed that it is growing, it is almost unheard of in the construction world, because construction is the slowest industry, right? I mean, when it comes to engineering, all of us have to agree to the fact that construction is the slowest developing engineering. While it is the oldest, it is still the slowest. I mean, the amount of technology and the changes that IT or computer science, being the same, but mechanical or EC, the other engineering branches are facing, that level, or that not level, but I would say that speed of changes are not as much, and hence the industry affiliation that the universities are trying to gather and bring it up. So yes, the US education level is growing up, and they're partnering with industry affiliates like us and many more. I would not say that it's only us, but that is the utmost importance, because BIM is an evolving thing, which until and unless applied onto the job site, nobody would realize what is right and wrong.
Okay, thank you. So shall we conclude now? Roy
looks
is
like
there?
Roy. I'm trying to check, but probably not. Do we have any more questions? If I think we have run past 1.5 hours over our time. So yes, we can conclude. And I see that there are a few pending questions in our in a question portal, and we are going to be taking note of them, and we will reach out to them individually, so that all of them are being answered in the way it has come to. There's if we are able, if we get to answering everyone, it's going to take us at least 3-4 hours. There are a lot of questions in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
First question. Yeah, precast in building, precast technology. Can precast technology in building industry will be of much help to BIM? As conventional construction is too messed up, with precast technology, we are constructing the elements on the structures at plant and then placing them on site. So I think that's a very pertinent question. You might want to take that.
Sure. Yeah. Precast is a subject I love. I would love to talk, if given a chance, maybe 24 hours on it. But precast is something, which is growing in the construction world to a level. While precast was always there, even when BIM was not there, even when 3D technology was not there, people, I know firms, because there are a lot of them are our clients, and I've heard stories, and I've heard bad stories. I've heard instances where a lot of things were precasted outside the site, and it came onto the job site and it did not fit, because everything was happening in the 2D world. With 3D coming in, precast has taken the market so crazy high that everyone wants to do it. I mean, not just the utilities. By utilities, I mean mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire, structural being the highest. I mean, everyone wants to precast, because they've realized that the accuracy of what BIM, what 3D technology, what virtual design construction, VDC in India, and engineering management, or I mean, it has various different terminologies across the world. What it brings to the accuracy level is almost there. I mean, our attendees here, I remember when I started in the webinar, and then I was disconnected due to my travel needs. We had almost 300 people in here. I can at least guarantee that across this 300 people, nobody would be able to realize the fact that prefab, at least in US and Europe, has taken to a fact that if you mess up in your design, in your BIM model by at least 5% or more, there is going to be a charge back. We have been charged back by, just this was a very recent project in Intel. It was one of the Intel semiconductor chip manufacturing plant in Phoenix, Arizona, US. The the bolt, basically the hole in a steel flange, in a I-beam steel flange, was off in 3 beams by 2 inches, just 2 inches, and it was not for our fault. I mean, we did not want to get down to a fact that we tried proving ourselves correct, because it was just 2 inches, and that's a human error. And that human error was also not because of us, it was because of the designer. Anyways, they charged us back for $1,400. Well, the money was pretty less in terms of how big the contract was. The point is, how accurate would they want every person on the job site, whoever is involved into BIM, to be? Because they want to try and reduce down the labor as much as they can onto the job site. Because reducing the labor, what that does is that increases the automation. And automation is nothing but multiplication. You figure out one pattern, you can multiply it by 1,000. But if you train one person, you cannot say that the next 1,000 are going to be equally good. Right? So it is, prefabrication is all about automation, and automation is all about accuracy. And until and unless you cannot guarantee accuracy, you're not there. So, well, we guarantee accuracy, and once in 10, once in 100 times, we do face the burn of it. And that's what human does. If we don't, then probably Technostruck would be a robo one day. And probably Dr. Thomas can teach all of us how to be a robo in construction world, maybe 5 years later.
So you see, reliability engineering was to a great extent revolving around manufacturing. Now I think in construction also there's reliability concept. You said accuracy. I will go one step ahead. Reliability.
Reliability. I completely agree to it, sir.
I'm going to read out one. It's not a question, but something Manish Soria is saying. And he's saying, and here it is in our site. The bolt hole is out for like 6 inches, and they were like, we will fill it with a filler material, and client, which is CPWD, was okay with it.
Well, you did not have Technostruct on your board, bro. We would have paid for your change order in that case. Well,
Right.
like I said, I would just repeat to it. We take pride into our quality, whether it comes to our consultancy or academy. We want to make sure that whatever we do it right the first way. There's no second chance.
Yeah.
Okay, now you should conclude it out. Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll conclude. So, guys, what we will do is, thank you for staying back. It's pretty late in India. And
I think Roy, the representation was very good. Around 300 people were there, and almost 250 people were there for almost 2.5 hours.
Yeah, so I think it was all thanks to you and
everybody contributed.
Insight into.
And Parth gave a nice ending also by talking about US.
But now here's the thing. What we will do is we will. It takes some time to process this video. We will process it and we will put it on our LinkedIn, or on our YouTube channel, and we will send across the link to all the attendees. We also have 50 plus 66 questions here, and we will answer them all. And we will go ahead and send an email out to every participant with the question answer and a link to the video on our YouTube channel. So,
Mark wanted to say something.
No, sir, I was just about to say that, that is exactly how, because I was not there, I would love to have a one-on-one discussion with the people who had few questions where I could be of some input as well, to add, in addition to whatever you, Roy, or other experts were able to say. So I would definitely take some time in next few days, reach out to every questions that were raised up, send an email, and if it requires a telephonic conversation, I would definitely do that. I would apologize, I was not able to be there, while I was supposed to be here.
So what we will do is, Parth, let's do this. I've seen this happening with in US quite a few times. So when we exceed on time, what we do is we then send out an email with the question answers and the link to this video, and we organize a half an hour slot for on another day where we will take up all these question answers and answer them one to one in a webinar kind of a scenario where there will be no presentation. It will be just the questions and answers.
Sure. Works perfectly fine with me.
Yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. So just so for people here, do not worry, we run out of time, but we will send you all a link to question answer session. Today is Tuesday, maybe we'll decide one of these days. And we will set it up while the discussion is fresh in all our minds. And for 1 hour chit chat, fireside conversation or question answer session. And from all these questions. Okay. So I think let's conclude with that. And thank you so much, Dr. Thomas. And
thank you, Roy, for supporting with your intellectual input.
Thank you so much, all the attendees and all the people who stayed back in this late hour. What is the time?
It's almost 3 hours.
3 hours. Thank you so much for staying back, and I really appreciate the enthusiasm that you've shown. So wait for an email from us. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.